They chop it, they add it to tomatoes, ang sarap nila.
Kasi niyo mo ba? May anak ko, hindi ako doktor. Kaya ako vitamin. Tapos po kasi because of the natural food. Wala akong ginagawa. Kasi nagalit ako sa meron ng doktor yung mga papakabayo.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your moderator this morning. And before we start with our lecture, may we say our prayer. Good morning, Holy Spirit. Lord, please help this organization to spread the good news that there are alternative ways, alternative modalities apart from what the mainstream medicine offers. And help us to be enlightened with the knowledge of preventing diseases by taking care of ourselves. As what your word in Isaiah says, that your people perish from lack of knowledge. We pray that you impart us the necessary knowledge to help us ourselves to be led towards a healthy lifestyle by integrating the principles to be laid down by our speaker this morning. Anoint him, Lord God. Let the word that will come out from his mouth be your word. For your word will not come back to you empty and void, but will accomplish the purpose to which you sent it. For after all, you are our great healer and physician. And without you, we cannot accomplish anything. Now, I would like to introduce our speaker this morning, a better representation of his father, John Immanuel C. Navarro. He is a holder of Bachelor of Science in Nursing and passed the licensure exam in 2006. A Doctor of Medicine likewise from St. Louis University, and a board certified in the year 2004. He trained under his father on cellular and biochemical medicine, and is an associate physician of Wellness and Rejuvenation Center in Shelburne Park and the Guban likewise. May I call on Dr. John Immanuel C. Navarro.
Dr. Robin Navarro and Dr. Lillaho, good morning. And for our guests, good morning. So today I'll discuss about immunity, short lecture about how immunity works, and at the last we'll discuss how to enhance our immunity naturally. Next slide. So my references are the Prescott-Hardy Klein Microbiology 7th edition, Cardinal Hall Medical Physiology, Let's Get Well by Adele Davis, Medical Journals by the National Institute of Health in the US. So, our objectives. So, immunity is a very broad topic. In the field of medicine, to be branded as an immunologist, you need to undergo specialization and subspecialization. So, for today, we will just stick with the basics of immunity and how to enhance it naturally. So, these are objectives for today: to have an overview of the host resistance, familiarize with the cells, tissues, and organs of the immune system, role of the immune system on bacteria, virus, parasites, and cancer, brief discussion about the mediators of immunity, to have a basic knowledge on how our immunity works, and lastly, how to enhance our immunity naturally. So let's talk about the host resistance. Our body are in constant attack from bacteria, virus, fungi, cancer, and other foreign organisms that, if not held in check, could result to certain diseases. The integrity of any eukaryotic organism depends not only on the proper expression of its genes, but also on its freedom from invading microorganisms. Immunity from the Latin word immunis, which means free of burden. So without our immunity, or it's problematic, we won't enjoy our life. So this is the case of David Philip Better, also known as the Bubble Boy. He suffered from a disease called severe combined immunodeficiency disease or hereditary disease, which dramatically weakens the immune system due to impairment or great reduction of the B and T lymphocyte. So he's prone to any infections like bacteria, virus, or fungi. That is why he needs to be placed in a sterile environment. An example of this is in a sterile bubble. So this is a true story. So unluckily, at age 12, he underwent bone marrow transplant from his sibling or from his sister. But unluckily, the bone marrow transplant that was transplanted contained a dormant Epstein-Barr virus, which does not affect his sister. But apparently, to this person, Mr. David Philip Better suffered from that Epstein-Barr virus, resulting to tumors spreading all over his body and resulting to his death with just 15 days after the procedure. So that's how immunity is very important. So without it, just a couple of virus would kill you. So, in summary, a host defense, there are two types of immune response. The innate and non-specific, which defends against foreign particles equally and lacks immunological memory, and the acquired and specific, which resists a particular agent. So in the innate and non-specific, it's composed of the cells in tissue, which is the granulocyte, macrophage, dendritic, and natural killer cells. Also the physical barrier, the skin, the mucous membrane, chemical mediators, defensin, lysozyme, and complement. Defensins are cysteine-rich cationic proteins that are actively against bacteria, fungi, and viruses. In the acquired and specific, you have mostly the cells in tissue are the B and T lymphocytes, also the memory cells or memory lymphocytes, and a discrimination between self and non-self. So this is the list of host defense, some of the non-specific innate host defense mechanisms that help prevent entry of microorganisms into the host tissues. So example of this are the sebaceous glands in your forehead. So yung mga persons na very oily yung skin, that's one defense against microorganism. Tears also contains lysozyme. Mucose, saliva contains lysozyme, lactoferrin, and peroxidase, which all can destroy bacteria. Intact skin, of course. The wax in the ear, the low pH of the body, low pH of the skin, and sweat, also for defecation and urination, and some of the stomach acid, which also destroy microorganisms. Next slide. So in the acquired immunity, we have two types, the natural immunity and the artificial immunity. The natural immunity is acquired to the normal life experiences of a human and is not induced through medical means. So under natural immunity, there are two types, the active and the passive. The natural active immunity is the consequence of a person developing his own immune response to a microbe. So example for this is when a child contacted a chicken pox and if he recovers from it, he'll have an immunity, lifelong immunity to chicken pox. So that's an example of a natural active immunity. The other type is the natural passive immunity, is the consequence of one person receiving preformed immunity made by another person. In this case is through breastfeeding, because the antibodies of the mother can be given to his child or his baby through breast milk. artificial immunity is that produced purposely through medical procedure, also called immunization. So, in the artificial active immunity is the consequence of a person developing his own immune response to a microbe. Example where this is vaccination. So, like diphtheria vaccination, chickenpox, measles. So, that's an example. And for the artificial and passive immunity is the consequence of one person receiving preformed immunity made by another person, which we discussed a while ago about bone marrow transplant. So that's one way of passive immunity, passive artificial immunity. So let's talk about cells, tissues, and organs of the immune system. Cells responsible for both non-specific and specific immunity are the leukocyte, from the Greek word leukos, which means white, and kaitos, which means cells, or white blood cells. Leukocytes originate from pluripotent stem cells in the fetal liver and in the bone marrow. So, if you have gone to an hospital and have a CBC with differentiation, this is an example. So, next. So, but we will discuss more on the WBC, or white blood cells, the red blood cells, the functions of the platelets, neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. Next slide. So here are the cells of the immune system. So it's a little bit small, but I'll just, my main purpose here is to show that the different cells of the immune system, like the mast cells, neutrophils, and all the white blood cells, came from one hematopoietic stem cells from the bone marrow. There. So let's discuss each of them. So first, the red blood cell. So the main purpose of red blood cell is to carry oxygen and carbon dioxide to and from the cells. Next. Platelets, involved in blood clotting and inflammation. Mast cells, specialized tissue cells similar to basophils that triggers local inflammatory reaction and are responsible for many allergic symptoms. Mast cell release histamine when the allergen is incarnated. So if you have any allergic reaction, this is the cells responsible for it, because it releases histamine, which causes vasodilation, the pruritus. That is why you are given antihistamine, like cetirizine, loratadine, which could help stabilize histamine. Neutrophils are essential blood phagocytes and active engulfer and killer of bacteria. Basophil function in inflammatory events and allergies. Eosinophil, active in worm and fungal infection, allergy, inflammatory reaction. Next. Monocyte are blood phagocytes that rapidly leave the circulation, mature into macrophage and dendritic cell. So dendritic cells are relative of the macrophage that reside throughout the tissue and the reticuloendothelial system, responsible for processing foreign matter and presenting it to lymphocyte. So natural killer cell. The major NK cell function is to destroy malignant cell and cells infected with microorganisms. In this example, this is the natural killer cell and this is a tumor cell. So after the natural killer cell contacted the tumor cell, all will be left are the debris or the cellular matrix of the tumor cell. So that's how important the natural killer cell, especially against tumor or cancer cells. So let's talk about the B and T lymphocytes. So in short, their main function is the B lymphocytes attack invaders outside the cell, and the T lymphocyte attack invaders inside the cell. So the B cell lymphocyte responsible for the humoral mediated immunity or antibody mediated immunity, which the mode of action is to the antibodies circulating in the serum, and its purpose is the primary defense against extracellular or outside pathogens, extracellular bacteria, and circulating virus. The T lymphocytes are responsible for the cell-mediated immunity, and mode of action is the direct cell-to-cell contact or secreted soluble products, example like cytokines, which will be discussed later. Its purpose is the primary defense against intracellular pathogens, virus, and fungi, intracellular bacteria, also tumor antigen and graft rejection. So next cell is the macrophage. Macrophage is the largest phagocyte that ingests and kills foreign cells, strategic participant in certain specific immune reaction. So this is an example of a macrophage engulfing a colony of bacteria. So once the macrophage mature, they eventually go to different places in our body to provide immediate response. So when it migrates to the brain, they are called the brain microglial cells. In the lung as lung alveolar cells. In the spleen as splenic macrophage. In the lymph nodes as resident and recirculating macrophage. In the joint as the A cell. In the skin as tissue macrophage. In the liver as Kupffer cells. In the kidney as mesangial cells. In the blood as blood monocyte, and the bone as bone osteoclast. So tissues and organs of the immune system. These are the tissues. So these are the important tissues responsible for our immunity. One is the thymus, which is the site of development of the T cell. The bone marrow, which is the site of development of B cell, and also the manufacturing or the factory of the cells of the immune system. Also, once the B and T lymphocyte matures, they go to certain areas to provide immediate action, like in the tonsils. They reside in the thymus, in the axillary lymph nodes, to the spleen, to the Peyer's patches in the small intestine, to the skin-associated lymph node tissue, and also, of course, in the different lymph nodes of the body. So let's talk about the mediators of immunity. So let's talk about inflammation. So from the Latin word inflammatio, to set on fire, is an important and specific defense reaction to tissue injury, such as that caused by a pathogen or wound. Inflammation is the immediate response of the body to injury or cell death. The 5 cardinal signs of inflammation are the redness or rubor, warmth or calor, pain or dolor, swelling or tumor, and altered function or function lysa. So this is the 5 cardinal signs of inflammation. We have the heat, from this one, from the torch, redness, swelling or tumor, pain or dolor from the falling debris, and loss of function. So those are the 5 cardinals of inflammation. So next slide. So let's discuss about the purpose of inflammation. So its purpose is to increase the blood flow and capillary dilation, resulting to an increase in antimicrobial factors and leukocytes that destroy the pathogen. Dead host cells also release antimicrobial factors. Blood leakage into the tissue spaces increase the temperature and further stimulate the inflammatory response and may inhibit microbial growth. Next slide. A fibrin gland often forms and may limit the spread of the invaders so that they may remain localized. Phagocytes collect in the inflamed area and phagocytose the pathogen. In addition, chemicals stimulate the bone marrow to release neutrophils and increase the rate of granulocyte production. So you can see here the action of inflammation and the cells responsible for it. For example, the bacteria enters the wound. So platelet from the blood release blood clotting proteins. So the blood platelets, they are responsible for localizing or to prevent further invasion or further entry of the pathogens. Mast cells secretes factors that mediate vasodilation and vascular constriction. Delivery of blood, plasma, and cells to the injured area are increases. Neutrophils secretes factor that kills and degrade pathogens. Neutrophils and macrophages remove pathogens by phagocytosis or by eating them. Macrophage secretes hormone called cytokines that attracts immune system cells to the site and activates cells involved in tissue repair. And inflammatory response continue until foreign material is eliminated and the wound is repaired. Next slide. So other mediators of immunity is the complement. So, complement are heat-labile component of the human blood plasma that augments phagocytosis. For the non-medical people here, this is the example of a centrifuge blood. So, it has three components: the red blood cell, the reddish one, and the buffy coat layer. We call it buffy coat layer, which contains the platelets and the white blood cell, and the yellowish one is the plasma. So complement, it complements the antibacterial activity or antibody. It composed of 30 serum proteins, and its three major physiological activity is defending against bacterial infections by facilitating and enhancing phagocytosis, bridging an innate and adaptive immunity, and disposing of waste. Next slide. So, another mediators of immunity is the cytokines. So, defense against viruses, microorganisms, and their products, parasites, and cancer cells is mediated by both non-specific immunity and specific immunity. Cytokines are required for immunoregulation of both these immune responses. From the Greek word cyto, which means cells, and kinesis, which means movement, is a generic term for any soluble protein or glycoprotein released by one cell population that act as an intercellular or between cells mediator or signaling molecule. So, once the cytokines, when released from mononuclear phagocytes, they're called monokines. When released from T lymphocytes, they're called lymphokines. When produced by a leukocyte, and the action is another leukocyte, they're called interleukins. To stimulate the growth and differentiation of immature leukocyte in the bone marrow, they are called colony-stimulating factors. And they are also grouped into following categories or families like chemokines, hematopoietins, interleukins, and members of the tumor necrosis factor family. So in short, this is the function of the cytokines. So the cytokine acts as an inhibition of proliferation to certain cancer. It also initiates differentiation and proliferation of normal cells. Chemotaxis to have a better response against pathogens. Apoptosis to provide or program cell death of cancer cells, and also metabolic activation like fever. Next slide. So, how immunity works? Non-specific response. So just memorize these four: recognition, phagocytosis, intercellular digestion, and exocytosis. It's like, imagine the game Pac-Man. The game Pac-Man is it's lots of fruits. It's like when I see something, I see a food, I recognize it as a food, so I take it and digest it and eventually excrete it. So that's how non-specific response do, like macrophage. So an example for is a macrophage. So how do they detect a bacteria? They detect bacteria from the pathogen-associated molecular pattern, or PAMP in the term of immunology. So this pathogen-associated molecular pattern are bacterial signature. Once detected by the TLR, or toll-like receptors, they are detected by the TLR. So once they are detected, they are phagocytosed here. And once they are phagocytosed, lysosomes or ribonuclease, deoxyribonuclease, protease, which destroy the bacteria, are activated. So once ingested by phagocytosis, microorganisms in the membrane enclosed vesicles are delivered to a lysosome, which contains ribonuclease, deoxyribonuclease, and protease, which all destroy bacteria. So in addition to the oxygen-independent lysosomal hydrolases, macrophage and neutrophils lysosome contains oxygen-dependent enzymes that produce reactive oxygen intermediate, such as superoxide radicals, hydrogen peroxide, and singlet oxygen, which all will additionally destroy bacteria and other microorganisms. So next slide. So let's talk about how immunity works in the specific response. So this will be might be parang nakakahilo. So this is an example of a dendritic cell. The dendritic cell. So the dendritic cells are antigen-presenting cell. They present the antigen to the. An example here is the T helper cell. So the T helper cell will activate or initiate the differentiation and proliferation of T lymphocyte and B lymphocyte. So the further T lymphocyte differentiation, next slide, will produce the T helper cell. The T helper cell will produce the CTL or the cytotoxic T cell, the memory T cell, and the suppressor T cell. The cytotoxic T cells are responsible for destroying the invading microorganism. The suppressor T cell are responsible for it's like Red Cross to prevent collateral damage, and also memory T cells to prevent to produce memory cells, so that if, in example, if the same pathogen attack, they will have, we will have an immediate response. Also in the B cell, activated B cell will produce plasma cells. So in short, it's like a battlefield. So let's imagine that the dendritic cells or the star-like cell is the informant. The T helper cells are the generals. So the informant will relate the information to the generals, the T helper cell, and eventually the general will send his marines or the cytotoxic T cell to combat the invading army. He will also send his Red Cross to prevent collateral damage or damage to the civilians or in our body as normal cells, and also his historian, the memory T cell. So if the same pathogen or same army attacks, we will have an immediate response. Next slide. So this is an example of the activation of the cytotoxic T cell. So I just want to show that when it is activated, it destroys the invaded host cell. So if you could see here, this is a cytotoxic T cell and a target cell on the right side. So T cell secretes perforin that forms spores in the target cell plasma membrane. These spores allow the content of the target cell to leak out and granzyme to enter and induce apoptosis. Next slide. So let's talk about the function of the B cells. So the B cells secretes antibody or immunoglobulin. They are grouped into 5: the IgG, IgA, IgM, IgE, and IgD. So IgG is the most abundant immunoglobulin in the body fluids. It neutralizes toxin, opsonizes bacteria, activates complement, and transplacental antibody. IgA is the main secretory antibody which protects the external surfaces. IgM, first to appear after antigen stimulation, very effective agglutinator, expressed as membrane-bound antibody on the B cell. IgE is an anaphylactic mediating antibody, resistance to helminths, and IgG is present on the B cell surface, which B cell recognition of antigen. Next slide. So the purpose of these antibodies is for 1. Neutralization, inactivates the toxin produced by bacteria, or bind to some virus and inactivates them. Other is opsonization, the process by which microorganisms or other foreign particles are coated with antibody and thus prepared for recognition and ingestion by phagocytic cells. And immune complex formation via precipitation and agglutination. So because these immune complexes are more rapidly phagocytosed in vivo than in free antigens. Next slide. So, kaya water break lang. Tapos na laway eh. As I said, immunity is a very broad topic. a few hours is not enough because in medicine, specialization in immunity takes around, to be a doctor, you need to undergo pre-med and doctor proper and go to internal medicine for 3 years and another 3 years for immunology. So that's hard immunology is. So nakikita ko sa inyo, medyo naguguluhan kayo. So, pasensya na, pero ganoon talaga kasi. So, mahirap talaga explain ng immunity in a very basic form. So, na-stress ba kayo dun sa mga discussion kanina? Are you stressed? It's very stressful. When I'm in med school, this is one of the topic I really hate because it's very stressful. It involves many biochemical pathways. So, next slide. So, this is our main goal. How to enhance our immunity naturally. Next slide. So, how to enhance our immunity is avoid stress. Sana hindi na kayo nakinig sa akin. Para hindi kayo na-stress. So, I'm a little stressed right now. Just turn around and leave quietly and no one gets hurt. So, it's... there are so many studies that stress are related to colds and flu, cancer, depression, eczema and other skin disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, stomach ulcer, or they also call it stress ulcer, heart disease, and asthma. Next slide. So, a meta-analysis of more than 300 empirical articles describing a relationship between psychological stress and parameters of the immune system in human participants. Acute stressors lasting for minutes were associated with potentially adaptive upregulation of some parameters of the natural immunity and downregulation of some function of specific immunity. Brief naturalistic stressors such as exam tended to suppress cellular immunity while preserving humoral immunity. So, chronic stressors were associated with suppression of both cellular and humoral measures. Next slide. So, how to avoid stress? Next slide. So, this is an anti-stress kit. So, bang head here. Direction. Place on a firm surface. Like this one. Follow direction in a circle. Repeat until stress is gone or you are unconscious. Repeat as necessary, not exceeding 4 times daily. And if circles turns red, and consult a physician. So, that's a joke. So, how to avoid stress? 1. Identify warning signs. So, what are the warning signs of stress? 1 is feeling of anxiety, feeling of palpitation, or sweating are example of warning signs. Identify triggers. So, triggers depends from the people. We will see some people are very stressing for us. For example, we see our enemy, or in Tagalog, we see our biyanan. We are so stressed. So, or example, we see our people who have death on us. We are also stressed. So that are the triggers. So you need to identify them so that you could do your own thing or do some action to prevent it from triggering your stress. So establish routine. So what are the routines? Have a regular exercise. Eat regularly in the correct time. That's our example of routines. Next slide. Spend time with people who care. Of course, spend time with people who are, so that you will be optimistic, not like spending time with your boss that will say you do this, do that. You'll just be put on stress. So look after your health. Have a well-balanced diet. Also, do an exercise. Practice relaxation like yoga or relaxing exercise. So, how to enhance our immunity naturally is 1. Also is exercise. The immune system is enhanced during moderate and severe exercise. And only intense long-duration exercise is followed by impairment of the immune system. The latter includes suppressed concentration of lymphocytes, suppressed natural killer cell activity, lymphocyte proliferation, and secretory IgA and saliva. Exercise increases immunocompetent cells in the circulation. Examples are the neutrophils, lymphocyte, and natural killer cells. So, For the light exercise or brisk walking, you can do it 30 minutes to 1 hour. Do it at least 5 times a week. For moderate to heavy exercise like running or weightlifting, perform exercises at least every other day. Next slide. So let's talk about vitamins. A vitamin is a substance that makes you ill if you don't eat. From Albert Yordi, a Nobel Prize winner in physiology or medicine in 1937. Vitamin A deficiency is an immune deficiency disorder characterized by widespread alteration in immunity, including pathological alteration in mucosal surfaces, impaired antibody responses to challenge with protein antigens, changes in lymphocyte subpopulation, and altered T and B cell function. Vitamin A and its metabolites are immune enhancers that have been shown to potentiate antibody responses to T-cell dependent antigens, increase lymphocyte proliferation responses to antigens and mitogens, inhibit apoptosis, and restore the integrity and function of mucosal surfaces. So what are the sources of vitamin A? Vitamin A comes from animal sources such as egg, meat, and dairy products. And recommended daily allowance is from 3,000 to 10,000 international units. Next slide. So next is vitamin D. Vitamin D function to activate the innate immunity and dampen the adaptive immune system. Low levels of vitamin D appears to be a risk factor for tuberculosis, which is rampant in our country. And supplementation of vitamin D could be used as a treatment for tuberculosis, for vitamin D can suppress intracellular growth of Mycobacterium tuberculosis in vitro. Vitamin D also induces the expression of cathelicidin, which is involved in the first line of defense in TB patient. So what are the sources of vitamin D? So one is sun exposure, cheese, butter, margarine, fortified milk, fish, and fortified cereals, and are good sources of vitamin D. And RDA, recommended daily allowance, is 600 to 4,000 international units. Vitamin E is a potent antioxidant and has an ability to modulate host immune function. In vitamin E deficiency, most of the immune parameters show a downward trend, which is associated with increased infectious disease and incidence of tumor. In contrast, vitamin E supplementation has a various beneficial effect on the host immune system. The decreased cellular immunity with aging or during the development of AIDS is markedly improved by the intake of high vitamin E diet. In addition, vitamin E plays an important role in the differentiation of immature T cells in the thymus. So, vitamin E obtained from foods, and vitamin A obtained from foods and supplements. The vitamin A already is in the blood, and that's stored in the liver and other body tissue, is quickly destroyed by oxygen. Therefore, what appears to be a lack of vitamin A may be in fact a deficiency of vitamin E. So, it is recommended that vitamin E must be amply supplied to have an optimum level of vitamin A. So, these are sources of vitamin E. Vitamin E is found in corn, nuts, olives, green leafy vegetable oil, and wheat germ. So, the RDA is from 33 international units up to 1,000 international units. So, vitamin C. Vitamin C is concentration in the plasma and leukocyte rapidly declines during infection and stress. Supplementation of vitamin C was found to improve components of the human immune system, such as antimicrobial and natural killer cell activity, lymphocyte proliferation, chemotaxis, and a delayed type of hypersensitivity. Vitamin C contributes to maintaining the redox integrity of cells and thereby protects them against reactive oxygen species generated during the respiratory burst and the inflammatory response. Vitamin C will greatly reduce the severity and duration of illness. Example, sore throat, encephalitis, rheumatic fever, flu, infection of the sinuses, ears or kidneys, respiratory infection. Vitamin C intake should be increased depending on the severity of illness. Vitamin C potentiate is increased when pantothenic acid and vitamin B6 are given simultaneously. So these are the good sources of vitamin C: citrus fruits, green peppers, strawberries, tomatoes, broccoli, sweet and white potatoes are all excellent food sources of vitamin C or ascorbic acid. And RDA is from 90 milligrams to 2,000 milligrams. Zinc. Zinc undernutrition or deficiency was shown to impair cellular mediators of the innate immunity such as phagocytosis, natural killer cell activity, and the generation of oxidative bursts. Intake of vitamin Z and zinc plays an important role in immune function and the modulation of host resistance to infectious agents, reducing the risk and severity and duration of infectious diseases. Furthermore, vitamin C and zinc reduce the incidence and improve the outcome of pneumonia, malaria, diarrhea infection, especially in children in developing countries. Next. So these are the sources of zinc: spinach, sesame seed, chard, asparagus, collard greens, pumpkin seed, zucchini, cremini mushroom, and broccoli. So the RDA is from 11 milligrams to 40 milligrams. Carnosine. Carnosine is a combination of two important amino acids, the beta-alanine and L-histidine. It has the ability to change itself into numerous compounds that can carry out or enhance many important body functions. That is why called the miracle worker. An all-in-one super antioxidant effectively quenches the most destructive of free radicals, the hydroxyl radical, the superoxide, the single oxygen, and the peroxyl radical. So it functions as a cell rejuvenator. It has the remarkable ability to actually rejuvenate cells, approaching senescence, the end of the life cycle of dividing cells, restoring normal appearance and extending their cellular lifespan, and also expedites wound healing. So red meats are rich source of carnosine. CLA or conjugated linoleic acid is a compelling evidence is available which demonstrates the ability of CLA to modify soluble factors or mediators of immunity such as eicosanoids, prostaglandins, cytokines, and immunoglobulin production. So CLA is rich in cream, butter, and milk. So saturated fats. Saturated fatty acids have antimicrobial, anti-tumor, and immune system supporting properties, especially the 12-carbon lauric acid, a medium-chain fatty acid not found in other animal fats. Lauric acid found in large quantities in both coconut oil and in mother's milk has strong antifungal and antimicrobial property. So saturated fats are found in animal products such as cheese, butter, whole milk, ice cream, cream, and fatty meats, oils such as coconut, palm, and palm kernel oil. Excuse me. So as you would notice, if you recognize the RDA or the recommended daily allowance of the vitamins I discussed, it's very small. For example, the 33 to 400 is very small because they tested this RDA to a healthy human person. So the body is like a house. The body is like a house. So for example, if you have a very well-maintained house, so the materials or the vitamins within it is not we just throw it away outside. It's like the human body. If you have an excess of vitamin C, we just urinate it. Excess of vitamin B, we just urinate it. So that's like a house. But if your house is stricken by Yolanda, the 315 km/h storm, which will really destroy the house. So it's like in our body, it's like contacting severe pneumonia or cancer, and our need for materials to rebuild the house or our body has increased. That's why in the RDA, which is, for example, the recommended daily allowance for vitamin C is 33 to 2,000. But you can increase that RDA up to 3 times of the normal, so that you could have you could build your house or you could protect your body more easily or more fastly. So as you would notice, I did not mention the role of conventional medicine, like antibiotics, antifungals, and chemotherapy for cancer. But it does not mean that they have no role in immunity. Conventional medicine have a great role in our fight against microbial foreign invader, because up to date, they are the only one which is therapeutically approved. But enhancing our immunity naturally will greatly benefit us, as it would lessen our need or dependence for this conventional medicine and will surely increase our resistance against microbial invader. And another best for enhancing our immunity is milk and honey. Milk, why milk? Because milk, as it provides a very complete nutrition, it also provides the antibodies, especially the unpasteurized milk. And also honey, an unpasteurized honey is a very good antifungal, antibacterial, and antiviral. But I will not discuss it because I will not preempt my father's discussion this afternoon. So, the best way to enhance our immunity and fight different kinds of diseases, what do you think? So, for me, the best, next slide, is pray. Faith and God. It has no scientific basis because it needs faith. So, thank you and good morning. Granzymes are secreted by the cytotoxic T cells. They're the one that destroy the infected host cell. They're like perforins. They burr holes on the infected cell to destroy it. So that's our granzymes.
What specific vitamin can annihilate it as fast as we can?
For sickness, one good vitamin is vitamin C. So it really upregulates your immune system, vitamin C. So sometimes I heard some practitioner recommended at least 3 grams of vitamin C a day. But for me, that's depending on the case. For example, if you have, according to Adele Davis, the more severe your sickness is, the higher you need for vitamin C. Because if you're not sick, for example, in our normal life, if you're not sick, taking vitamin C of more than 3 grams is just useless because you will just urinate it. And also, according to conventional medicine, you'll be prone to developing calcium oxalate stones in the kidneys. Because in the biological pathway of vitamin C, once vitamin C is digested, it is transformed to oxalate acid oxalate in the liver. So once this oxalate combined to calcium, it will be calcium oxalate. So that will be an example of a kidney stone. So, other questions?
What kind of vitamin C would you recommend? Acid or the...
Depending if you're prone to hyperacidity or acid-related disease, I would recommend the sodium ascorbate form. Because vitamin C as an ascorbic acid is also could produce acid-related symptoms. So, other questions?
How much beta-carotene can you take?
Beta-carotene is a phytochemical. So I think I don't have an RDA allowance for the beta-carotene because I think it's not researched in the US, so I cannot give you an exact amount. But as a plant derivative phytochemical, I think there's no overdose from it. But they said that if you take a lot of it, you'll turn your hands or body to orange.
How do you test test a person whether they are parasite infected?
For example, if you could test by in the blood chem, for example, the CBC. If you have high eosinophils, that could also detect that you have a parasite infection. Or you could have a fecalysis or stool analysis to find if there are parasites like Ascaris eggs or Ascaris mismo dun sa feces. So that will be tests. That are the laboratory tests that you can request.
Sometimes the eosinophil will appear to be normal, but then patient how do you test fungus or yeast infection or candida? And sometimes, like what you mentioned earlier, the Epstein-Barr virus being dormant, like herpes. So, is there any way how to destroy them?
How to destroy them, or first we'll discuss how to detect them. So, for example, the fungi or any skin diseases, they use in the traditional medicine the wood lumps or the KOH stain to detect if this is positive for fungus. And for the Epstein-Barr virus, you could request for antigen. For example, like what we use for detecting hepatitis, we have HBV antigen detection, or we call it HEPA profile. So you could ask your doctor, or I don't know which hospital here offers, especially those rare diseases like Epstein-Barr virus that could be used as a tool for detection. I don't know if it's available in the Philippines, but you could request because by using the antigen profile. And also to confirm it, you will need a PCR or polymerase chain reaction. So, questions? So, no questions, and thank you and good morning.
From the Department of Tourism, Director and Group Head of Niche Market in charge of Medical Travel and Wellness Tourism. A certified spa manager, certified by the Ateneo School of Business, adapted natural healing of acupuncture, pilot, biochemical and cellular approach, an advocate of spiritual wellness, which remind me of one passage in the Bible, which is Philippians 4:6. In everything, in anything, offer your work to God. Do not be anxious in anything, but by prayer and petition, present your requests to God, and God, who transcends all understanding, will guide your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. These have something to do with the spiritual wellness, as what our first speaker said, that we are healed although there's no scientific basis or medical basis. We are healed through prayer, faith, and this is a very strong propagation, and very timely that we have a speaker now on spiritual wellness. May I call on Director Cynthia C. Lasso of the Department of Tourism.
A generous introduction. President of Philippine College for Advancement in Medicine Foundation, led by Dr. Robin Navarro, the board of CAM, members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank, first of all, Dr. John Immanuel Navarro for sharing his time with me this morning. When I approached the Navarros, Dr. Robin Navarro, I specifically requested to not really to give a talk, but to come up with strategic conversations with the experts in natural healing, so that together with you and agencies of government that would like to push medical, travel, and wellness tourism to other peoples of the world, that we could do this together. I prepared 2 presentations, but apparently the first one we could not locate, and that might be a signal for me to really converse with you. The other presentation is really how we could make ourselves known to the world. But I'd like to present my case in context. For wellness tourism opportunities, we all are aware that we have good quality care in top-notch healing facilities, be it hospitals or ambulatory clinics. We have a large pool of English-speaking, qualified and caring health and tourism professionals, a captive market consisting of a Filipino diaspora, proximity to the Pacific, East Asia Pacific, and Micronesia. We have a tropical climate, environment and cultural openness, and as of this time, the Philippines ranked 11th in the world and 5th in East Asia Pacific in the list of 2010 top 20 medical tourist destinations. Internationally, we are recognized in medical travel and wellness tourism, and we have a lot of these facilities which are also award-winning. The farm in San Benito, Lipa City, Batangas was named the best medical wellness resort worldwide at the International Tourismus Bourse in Berlin, held early this year in 2013. While we have the top arrivals, which are the following: Korea, US, Japan, China, Taiwan, Australia, Singapore, Canada, Hong Kong, Malaysia, UK, and Germany. We would like to also be able to attract them for wellness tourism as well as medical travel. However, in our being able to access information about the markets, there are really countries that go after these tourists. Like the top one is Thailand, the other one is Singapore, and we just also spoke with our counterparts in Malaysia that participated in the exhibition expo here in Manila. And they are also going after the medical travel and tourists. For the arrivals for 2012, we hit 4.3, and we have also new targets for this year till next year. But what we're hoping to do is to be able to fill up the gaps in terms of arrivals by helping promote wellness tourism, which we believe would be a wider market than medical travel itself, considering that should we launch a campaign, there will be a greater comfort level with getting into wellness tourism, which is both maintenance of health and preventive medicine, rather than getting international tourists to go directly to the Philippines for surgery. Of course, there are other intervening variables for people to decide whether to go to the Philippines for medical travel and wellness tourism or not, as also compared to other countries which are market leaders, such as Thailand. Just to be able to present this in context, the Philippines promotes different product portfolios. One is nature tourism, the other one is cultural tourism, sun and beach, leisure and entertainment tourism, which includes gaming, MICE and events tourism, cruise and nautical tourism, diving and marine sports tourism, and education tourism. And what we'd like to highlight is health and wellness and retirement tourism. So we are counting on you to be part of this industry and to help also be able to help generate jobs for our people, as well as increase our tourism share to the GDP. Right now, the tourism employment is 4.9. This is the whole share of employment as part of the economy. Perhaps at this point, I'd like to give you a definition of medical travelers and wellness tourists. First one is those who go to the Philippines solely for world-class, value-for-money medical travel and wellness tourism services. And those who take advantage of the Philippines' wide array of tourist and leisure attractions while experiencing those world-class, value-for-money medical travel and wellness tourism. There are indicators that give us an idea of how big the market for health and wellness tourism is. And from 2011 to 2012, health and wellness continued to have a strong value growth of 15% in 2011, and then a steady double-digit growth for medical tourism, 16% value growth, and of spa with 19% growth. And for the trends, we're talking about spas here, and what we'd like to encourage is the growth of medi-spas, which also have a combination of natural healing modalities. We have also recorded strong performance of health and wellness tourism in 2011 with increased government involvement and cooperation. And we also hope to be able to handhold each other, or us to be able to create an image of the Philippines that is into wellness tourism. We are also challenged by the fact that there are other competitors in the market, and that we would like to also be able to deliver successful branding of medical tourism and wellness tourism. Maybe we could go ahead to the other. Right now, we, if I may, starting last year, the Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Health, and Department of Tourism have started talking to each other for us to be able to come up with a common stance on the part of government. And it was decided that we start with the hospitals, knowing fully well that we have 4 Joint Commission International Hospitals, and then at the same time also internationally, the practice is for countries who are in medical, travel, and wellness tourism to get the internationally accredited hospitals in the front line. I'd just like to share with you a few items that we have tackled in medical travel. We have initially been able to pinpoint quantitatively where we could tap these markets, but knowing also that the trend in these originating markets is such that corporations are now getting more and more interested in how their employees would be less absent from work, which means that these corporations are taking a look at a different approach in being able to keep the employees healthy, and that is natural healing or preventive medicine. And this is where we can come in terms of offerings. And at the same time, we know also practically that in different regions of the world, the state of the state of the industry in terms of health have been reported to go on the verge of bankruptcy, and one example is the US. I've spoken with UK investor recently that gave a briefing that even in Europe, there are states there that are having difficulty in trying to maintain health care of the population. And this is a more valid reason for us to be able to come up with such offerings as what you offer, as well as the other group in spa and wellness, to be able to change the consistency of the population and be able to address the current challenges of the global threats to health, starting with the influence of climate change in the world. So there are a lot of reasons for us to be able to get into the forefront of this. And what do we have in mind in being able to project the Philippines as health and wellness destination, medical travel and wellness tourism? I'd just like to give you an idea of the potentials of wellness opportunities, and this is intended to start strategic conversations with you. Perhaps put together a core group to be able to discuss how all of us could level up. And then thirdly, for us to be able to pinpoint what are the areas or centers of excellence that we have that could probably I would not say compete neck to neck like our neighbor, which is Thailand, which, as I gathered, they held their very recent anti-aging conference. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend, but that I know that they have shifted from aesthetics, cosmetic surgery. It was a paradigm shift that they have adopted for them to be in the preventive medicine and wellness as well, which is something that the Philippines is very strong at. And I also understand that Thailand, as I recently spoke with the reporter from the Manila Times and another resource also from ICAM, that Thailand has employed Filipinos to help them in this strategic undertaking. So I guess this is the challenge for all of us. So if I could just also present in context. We have a powerful impact on jobs and economies, and these were the indicators that were recorded. For medical travel, it's projected to reach 70 billion in US dollars and US 5 billion estimated revenues and 2 billion in revenues for 2015. For wellness tourism, 11.7 million global jobs, 1.3 trillion in global economic impact, and 1.8% of the world's GDP in 2012. So you see the whole effort would translate into these figures. Then I believe that so this is a chart presented by the Global Spa and Wellness Summit, and I think you're all too familiar with this. For medical tourism, they branded it as reactive, and generally people who are sick travel to receive treatment for a diagnosed disease, ailment, or condition, or to seek enhancement, motivated by desire for a lower cost of care, higher quality care, better access to care, or care not available at home. And activities are reactive to illnesses, medically necessary, invasive, and or overseen by a medical doctor. We have indicators gathered by our Canadian Post, including our tourism attaches, and they've also gone through a workshop recently, because there is every indication for the Philippines to be able to create that niche for those who are medically ill out of Canada. And we have about 500,000 of Filipino Canadians whom we could tap to be able to initially create the testimonials that are needed for us to get across into the mainstream of Canada. In wellness tourism, so you have 139 million international inbound as compared to medical tourism recorded at 50 to 60 billion international inbound. And these are generally people who are healthy. They travel to maintain, manage, or improve health and well-being. And according to our research, people who decide to travel normally ask if their hotels have gyms and spas. Next, motivated by desire for healthy living, disease prevention, stress reduction, management of poor lifestyle habits, and or authentic experience. And activities are proactive, voluntary, non-invasive, and non-medical in nature. In 2008, we had a Health and Wellness Summit, and we were able to track down by way of putting this in a chart all the valuable inputs of international experts as well as our local speakers from the centers of excellence. And basically, what you would see here are still quite true till now, but we would like to invite your participation in being able to give us inputs in terms of some highlights on the possible modalities that could contribute to the paradigm shift from medical tourism to tourist wellness tourism. Okay, what came out in that summit was, here's the Philippines, and we have the Philippine Market Trust. And what we'd like to do is to bridge the Philippines to the world. So we know what we're doing, we know where we're strong at, and we have to communicate this to the world. So the consultancy firm whom we've tapped was able to track, based on what the speakers in that Health and Wellness Summit have spoken about the Philippines. We must work as a country, that's number one. Align as a nation, the country has to work together, and we have to work for international accreditation. Pardon me for my for gaps in my knowledge. For international accreditation, I'm aware that hospitals go after international accreditation such as the JCI, Accreditation Canada, Trend, and so on and so forth. But I believe there's another type of accreditation for the wellness, spa and wellness group, and one of these is ISHWA, which I could probably share with you at a much later time. And then we have pluses of the Philippines: world-class medical expertise, global technologies, care, compassion, and happiness of the Filipino, language proficiency in English, and this is very apparent even if we know that Thailand is a market leader. Down the line, you're not proficient in English. Then we have to emphasize the Department of Health's governance, which are in other countries would also have this governance from their own ministry or Department of Health. We have emphasized patient safety, quality of healthcare, the traditional indigenous health practices and medicinal plants, and the fact that we have been marketing ourselves as an island of wellness has given an entirely wide image about the Philippines for a tourist to be able to travel from one island to the other. And as early as 2008 or even before that, the international speakers especially noted trends manifesting or existing in the country, which are bioregenerative medicine and protection medicine, cosmetics and longevity medicine, wellness revolution, health in mind, body, and spirit continuum. Now, how do we bridge the Philippines to the world? This is a challenge. What is our value proposition, our brand? I'd like to encourage strategic conversations amongst you and even amongst other sectors in the health and wellness industry to come out with a successful brand that we would like to get out to the world. And then everybody, especially the international speakers, agree you have to get the word out and stop saying get treatment abroad. Encourage our locals to consult here in the Philippines. And now it's time for the Philippines at that time to dialogue across the ocean, create a robust traffic in between, to also help in the shifting of the paradigm of medicine and this is a challenge to us right now. The language of medical tourism industry is continuously being shaped, and many health professionals, the fact that many health professionals in the U.S. are Filipinos is a big advantage to us. And what I would like to encourage you is to be able to get them who have probably known about wellness, except that since they have practiced in the West, that they have still held on to this type of practice. But if we are able to convince them, they could be our very own testimonials for pushing natural healing and life. So there, at that time, there have been opportunities that have been pointed out in the U.S. market. Now we now all know about the health crisis in the U.S. and which has been it's being addressed now by the Obamacare, and we have the uninsured and the uninsured, self-funded type in terms of the insurance, common overseas surgeries that are being sought, and of course the presence of lifestyle diseases. We are also took note that the following should be the people to contact for us to be able to generate more information about going after this type of market. Via the medical facilitators. These are facilitators, or we call them integrators, that package the service from the time that the patient asks questions about healthcare, and information are being managed either by BPO style or one-on-one, so that by the time these patients come to the Philippines, they've had already been pre-screened and they've had an appointment with doctors here. But integrators would package the whole program in such a way that from the airport, check into the hotel and the hospital, going through the series of procedures and so on, and then all the way to check out and then being brought to the airport, including continuum of healthcare once the patient gets out of the country. Then we have identified markets like Pacific Islands, Europe, Canada, UK, Middle East, Australia, Asian countries. And these are still, markets are still coming from these areas till now. So there are realities in terms of the World Health Organization data about the global lifestyle, in terms of the different illnesses like diabetes, heart, high blood pressure, and so on. And in the trends, you have internationally trained in healthcare services that are the language is being developed. Bioregenerative medicine and protective medicine, again, cosmetics and longevity medicine as field for cutting-edge medicine, and quantum physics in health. Okay. The chart on the left side are those that have been proposed to be done to be able to achieve the target objective of being able to project the image of the Philippines abroad and to be able to tap in terms of the targeted markets via value proposition and niche. So we have to create strategic conversations, as I said earlier, shared language, shared paradigms, shared policies, shared processes, and shared action, and with public and private sector stakeholders. So at this point in time, what the government wishes to do is to get together, agree at one position and then deal with the private sector and come up with strategic conversations with public and private sector stakeholders. So these were the recommended immediate action plan, but of course, because over the years till now, we have to create other strategies, considering that there have been shifts in the marketplace as well as new global trends. But basically, this gives you an idea on what we need to do. So at that time, just to be able to concentrate on specialty clinics, alignment with brand and market trust, which would be created. Then in the short term, in wellness and alternative modalities tourism, develop hand-in-hand with medical travel plus, knowledge sharing between spa and medical practitioners, and of course the alternative modalities practitioners, the mindset of evidence-based for assessing wellness and alternative modalities intervention, which I would like to emphasize at this point in time, gauging from what we have learned in the 2008 summit. More and more, the practitioners are being encouraged to come up with a process to be able to come up with evidence-based mindset of evidence-based for assessing wellness and alternative modalities intervention. Basically, what we'd like to do is if we can deliver on a promise, we put the information in articles, we have testimonials of your patients or wellness clients, and then be able to deliver this to the world so that it could be a way of being able to entice other interested clients for them to try out these modalities here in the Philippines. Then we have in the next chart is the Philippines, a country working together in a line as a nation, and at that time we adopted the Heart of Asia as a brand, okay, which basically upon consultation maybe this would change or maybe there could be a derivative from this main brand. Then for value propositions and niche vis-a-vis targeted markets, so there could be medical travel plus to include medi-spa, massage therapies, then bioregenerative and protective medicine, and specialty clinics and wellness and alternative modalities. All of the above, observing patient safety, quality, compassionate and caring attitude, accessibility, affordability, and continuum of care. So these are some suggestions on being able to create international media opportunities for the Philippines medical, travel, and wellness tourism sector. The challenge with our team in the Department of Tourism is for us to be able to deliver and communicate our strengths here and what we offer and what we promise to deliver to our clients. This is tall order and tough job. To create international awareness and promote the competitive advantages of the Philippines as a destination for medical tourism. And strategies, the promotion of the Philippines medical travel and wellness tourism sector begins with building awareness and the reputation of the Philippines medical sector in general, and it could be carried out in 3 phases. Okay. Then we would also recommend focusing on strengthening the awareness of the quality of Philippines medical care prior to discussing the Philippines as a destination for medical tourism. Because a lot of people don't know or not knowledgeable that the Philippines has quality healthcare. And these are some of the potential media angles. One is raising awareness of the quality of Philippine medical sector. The The Philippines quality medical care is one of the world's best kept secrets because we have not come up with a big grand communication plan in the past. Leveraging international relationships, so we have Filipino Americans, we have Filipino Canadians, Filipino Australians, and patients around the world that are finding the best of both worlds in the Philippines with quality medical care and access to world-class medical institutions at a fraction of a price in the U.S. as an example. Then, third is promoting the Philippines as a destination for medical travel and wellness tourism. And next, please. So I'll just do it fast. We've identified some target media outfits in the US, Canada, UAE. On broadcast. And then we are now, so this is a product market matching. So what we'd like to do also for wellness is for us to be able to fill out these boxes and come up with wellness offerings for traditional and alternative medicine, for natural healing. And then this is how we would like to be able to get there, including coming up with promotional materials. I'd like to end this, but maybe just go to the next slide to make some suggestions as to how to arrive at this process, the next level. Questions, these are not set in stone. Seek international accreditation on the part of the stakeholder. Right now, I know that the SPA group has come up with its own accreditation. Okay, do you agree to levy a participation fee once they come in? Can we come up, develop, and conduct a value chain process? How do we approach the decision for a value proposition from the wellness group? And can we convene a corporate communications planning group to put this all together, choose the right words, to be able to create that niche? And we work with the national carrier, which at this time they're open to it, and develop an applicable platform to serve as a guide for the government and the private sector. Right now, as we speak, Thailand has launched its Find Your Fabulous. So they started with a competition, photo competition, and submission of entries for Find Your Fabulous, where they have put at stake prizes like 2-night stay and spa. You get into a spa and you go through a wellness procedure and so on and so forth. Okay. These are just some examples. I have 2 slides here of medical and wellness tourism value chain, where you start with the market study, the promotion, and this slide has identified the enablers and the supporters, so which includes government and also the stakeholders. Next, please. I'm sorry, you could hardly see at the back. Can we go to the first? So these are the Department of Tourism, the Department of Health, the Bureau of Immigration, the Philippine Retirement Authority, Commission for Overseas Filipinos, and the Academy. Tomorrow, the Commission for Overseas Filipinos called stakeholders to take a look at how the stakeholders could make use of, they call Ba-Link. Ba-Link, it is a website, and people can push their products or ideas in that website. Then we have the Department of Foreign Affairs and so on. We have the airport, DALG, one in charge of the airlines, the hotels, and so on and so forth. And then here would be the chambers of commerce. Heal Philippines has been identified as an umbrella organization for the different clusters. And then next. And then this chart also has identified the operators involved in the chain. So as an example, you have here on the left side, market study, medical tourism facilitators, dental clinics, all new members, spa, aesthetics, and so on down the line. And then you have tour operators, facilitators, from market study, the process, promotion, sales, inbound, accommodation, leisure, and so on and so forth. And then, well, I believe you're aware of this chart also through this from Spa and Wellness Summit, where in the chart you have spiritual selection, mind, body, spirit. So this is a holistic approach. And next is a definition of wellness tourism. Unwell travel, unhealthy and overeating, travel stress, excessive drinking, oversleeping, disruption of fitness routine, and then wellness travel. You have healthy living, rejuvenation and relaxation, meaning and connection, authentic experiences, disease prevention, and prevention. And that's where we want to go. So I certainly hope that this has given you an idea of how we could collaborate and how we could start strategic conversations. And we do invite you to be able to come up with your own offerings, and we can actually be able to do this together and hopefully deliver the right information to our markets and to the world. Mabuhay kayo lahat.
Thank you for that very informative lecture. And I was wondering about your suggestion on letting the world know what the Philippines has to offer in terms of natural healing. I know the Department of Tourism organizes trade fairs and other things to promote what's in the Philippines. As part of this fairs that you organize, can you slot in a day or two on natural healing in the Philippines? And PICAM would be very happy to provide the lecturers and the speakers.
Yes, certainly, Doctor. We can actually do that.
Do you think the Department of Tourism can do that?
Yes, we can do that.
Oh, wonderful. How do we organize it?
Okay.
Whom do we get in touch with?
Let me just explain right now, as I explained earlier. We're now in conversations with the DTI, Department of Health, and I believe Secretary Honor or his representative also spoke in this assembly, including the Department of Tourism. Right now, what we're tackling is the area of hospitals. And within our technical working group, I was advocating or lobbying for getting ourselves also into wellness and other healing modalities. So the challenge for us to be able to get together the body of knowledge for us to be able to, one, come up with our level of ambition, establish our proof of concept, and be able to push this with the higher officials. And I'd like to invite you for this, to participate with your help. We could get together this body of knowledge
Well,
and
we'll be
proceed
waiting
from
for
there.
your invitation. And the other thing is, it
I
might be
don't want
useful-
to apologize for government because I've been involved in health and wellness even before this administration. So, as I mentioned, 2008, etc. And I also recognize some familiar persons who joined the GTZ Trade in Health Services Seminar. I don't know if you recall. And this has been going on in the past. There was a hiatus of about a year or so when I guess it's the attention of government was on other things. And now health and wellness is being included in the priority industries that we could push. So the challenge on us is, even while right now we're working on medical travel, hospitals, etc., we'd like to also push wellness, but be able to get the proof of concept.
I'm sorry, get the approval
Establish
of what?
proof of concept.
We
That
need
it
the approval
works.
of-
Proof of concept. That it works.
Well,
How
yes, we'd be happy to do
Yes.
that.
And
one thing we'd like to do is in one of our seminars to invite you so you can listen to our speakers, because they do cite one case after another, and they have actual evidence that the disease existed beforehand, before the intervention, and then the intervention was done, and later they have clinical evidence that the disease is gone. That is what is called evidence-based by the Department of Health, also by the WHO.
so we would like to encourage the collection of that
The
body of
intervention
knowledge.
is entirely natural. And the usual thing that happens is that people come to us as a last resort. The conventional medical community has failed and has given him up. So let me give you an example. There was a lady in Cavite who had gangrene. Was in a wheelchair, couldn't walk. She went to St. Luke's. They treated her for 5 months with the so-called gold standard tested, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled drugs. After 5 months and 800,000 pesos, St. Luke said, we'll have to cut off your leg. So this lady came as a last resort to natural healing. In 1 week, her gangrene was gone, her diabetes was gone, the sugar was normal, she was out of her wheelchair, and she's still out of her wheelchair 3 years later. And the cost to her was only 12,000 pesos. So we have many cases like that.
Okay. Yes, I am convinced, actually. I am only one member in that group. And what they would need is a body of knowledge, the
So what do we have to do
evidence.
to be able to get the Department of Tourism to organize a natural healing seminar for us in as many countries as you can?
Okay. Maybe we can discuss this further and come up with a proposal for...
Yeah, but if you come to one of our seminars, you will find one case after another being cited of the power of natural healing. Another example, one man in Medical City was in the ICU in a coma, and the doctor said, we're sorry, there's nothing that can be done, he'll die any moment. So the wife turns to natural healing. And after a lot of discussions, because initially the doctors said, no, natural healing? No, no way. You cannot do that in this hospital. You know, all Philippine hospitals do that. They refuse to have natural healing done in the hospital. All they want are synthetic drugs.
I know that.
Wait a minute. So, no way, you cannot do it. So she kept pleading. Finally, they said, if anything happens to him, we are not responsible. So the wife said, well, if anything happens to him now, with all the drugs you've been giving him, are you responsible? They said, of course not. You signed a waiver. So the wife said, well, I'll also sign a waiver for the natural remedies that we will give him. So they finally agreed. But they refused to have their nurses give the natural remedies. So finally, the wife started the natural remedies. What was it? 2 raw eggs with cayenne tincture every 2 hours round the clock. After the 3rd serving, the man woke up from his coma. On the 3rd day, he was out of the ICU. And on that day that he was out of the ICU, the Therapeutic Committee of Medical City issued a ruling in print banning raw eggs and siling labuyo for this hospital. That's what we are up against in this country. So I actually plead with the Department of Tourism, if you want us to propagate to the world what Philippine natural healing can do, we need your help. If you can organize seminars for us, we'll be happy to provide the speakers from PICAM. And we have very good speakers. We have Dr. Robin Navarro, who is called the Miracle Doctor. We have
By the way, he's my
Jaime
doctor.
Galveston.
He's my doctor.
Oh, you see?
Dr. Navarro.
We have Jaime Galveston, former Secretary of Health. I mean, these are top caliber people.
I am convinced.
So can you help us
Yes.
propagate this to the world? PICAM does not have the resources or the money, but the Department of Tourism has. If you can organize seminars for us, we'll be happy to provide the speakers and the cited evidence-based cases.
We could adopt it as a part of the strategy to...
Okay, we'll wait for your invitation. Thank you.
Good morning. Is there a similar to the BOI incentive program for medical tourism of clinics and hospitals?
Okay. I'm actually
Like
going down.
holiday, tax holiday, and income tax and business tax and whatever?
There is now under PESA, but as I said earlier, the new administration is addressing, coming up with a policy for medical travel and wellness tourism. That's why we've started our talks with the hospitals right now and setting a target and being able to justify why we should go after medical travel and wellness tourism in this administration. So what I'm actually requesting is if you could equip us with the knowledge and information that we would be able to push it. I actually suggested this to our team leader, who's Assistant Secretary Romulo Manlapi. So his challenge to me is, okay, if you can deliver that body of knowledge for wellness, we're gonna tackle that.
Oh, certainly. We can equip you. I volunteer you, our Dr. Diliapo, to go with you.
He was my classmate at the Trade in Health Services seminar. I don't know if he recalls me being a classmate of his GTZ led. He has been very outspoken in some of our workshops. Certainly.
Well, another thing.
I welcome your help.
Another thing would be just like in the food industry, because I was a member before of the Philfodex. So
I've worked closely with Philfodex.
right. So
Before.
with Cytem, what they do is they take booth like in Paris, in Anuga in Germany, or in Japan, in Hong Kong. They take booth and they get members to participate, 8 or 10 companies, to display their product. So in line with that, just like the Cancer Control Society in the US or the anti-aging, then you could take a booth and we could participate. Because like in the Cancer Control Society, they would get attendees, bring them to Tijuana, Mexico, to visit all the various cancer clinics doing alternative treatment. So if you'll be sponsoring a big size booth, I think the doctors here would be willing to attend that, be an exhibitor.
I'll take note of that, and since DTI is a member of our technical working group, maybe you could give that as part of the recommendation. I failed to mention to you that the group that I belong to is market development, and we don't just go after fairs, exposure, but try to find out what markets we can develop for, as an example, wellness tourism. So it would help us to know the product offerings if we can consider each of the offerings as a product and be able to match this with the markets. Even being able to get into the market to come up with a market study, then we would also be open to it. And that's the reason why our group was created. I belong to the niche market group. And some of the other that we tackle is English as second language, which is now strong in Asia for non-speaking people like Koreans and Japanese. Then we have diving, where we would like to include snorkeling to expand the market. And we also have, of course, medical, travel, and wellness tourism as part of the niche. So we'd like to pour our efforts on this, and marching orders for this group now is to be able to come up with a comm plan for next year. So you will understand, we would have a comm plan, but we need to develop, let's say, for media, the stories. What's the profile of the clients of the wellness group? And examples of the evidence-based testimonials that we could line up in terms of news stories, which we have done also for medical travel in terms of a visual. So that's the challenge. And then in the product offerings, where we could set up a system whereby we set a process so that once the products are offered in terms of advertising, as an example, then we would be able to track the utilization of the product offering. So we are challenged to come up with a system so we can track, and then we have create the base for further tweaking of the comm plan, etc. I'd like to invite a core group. Actually, I mentioned this in my talk, to be part of a corporate comm plan group and plan what's the value proposition and the type of branding that you can do and carry on the wellness side, considering that there's a big difference between medical travel and wellness tourism. For wellness tourism, trips to different destinations here for well people to enjoy would be included in the product offering. And should you also decide to work with facilitators or integrators who basically are in the market right now. Example, there are integrators or facilitators in Middle East. There are in the US. And as I know it in Australia, then maybe we can approach it from that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Morning. I just would like to share my inputs. I'm a layman, a businessman, not a medical practitioner, but I believe in natural healing and alternative.
May I know your name, sir?
Pacific Goyabo, from Legazpi City. I'm the sole representative of Bicol region after the typhoon. No airplane, no bus, except one with Rango. I forced myself to come, even during the typhoon. I would like to share, there are 52 million psoriasis around the world. 2 million of them is in the Philippines. Dr. Deliaco cured one patient in 2 weeks' time. Thank you.
Thank you for that information. Okay, and since I don't see any more show of hands, I'd like to thank President Dr. Navarro for having invited me here. Again, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Mabuhay kayong lahat.
We would like to give our appreciation to Director Zinc for having enlightened us on the and encouraged us about medical tourism in our country, to promote medical tourism. Likewise, we would like to thank also Dr. John Navarro for empowering us to help ourselves in by taking care of ourselves through the enhancement of our immune system. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.